Far below on Earth, Dr. Lena Hoshimoto prepared the final stages of Project Phoenix. This was no ordinary weapon. It was the culmination of decades of human ingenuity, combining artificial intelligence, adaptive energy manipulation, and coordinated fleet tactics. It was designed not just to strike, but to predict, to overwhelm, and to teach the aliens a lesson they would never forget. "They laughed at our warnings," she whispered to her team. "Now they will learn the cost of underestimating us." Across the solar system, humans worked together like a single living organism. Engineers, pilots, scientists, and civilians all contributed, each action coordinated, each effort precise. Ships were repaired mid-battle, supply lines maintained through cunning maneuvers, and strategies adapted in real time. Humanity's advantage was no longer in technology alone. It was in unity, creativity, and the unstoppable will to survive. The first wave of battle erupted near Saturn's rings. Alien ships surged forward, confident in their superior numbers. Lasers lit the void, missiles tore through the darkness, and explosions rippled across space. But humans had learned the art of unpredictability. Fleets moved through asteroid belts, warped around moons, and executed maneuvers the aliens could not anticipate. Each human strike was precise, each victory earned through intelligence and courage. On board the intrepid, Mara guided her fleet with a combination of instinct and experience. Young pilots, inspired by the courage of their ancestors and the hope for the future, executed maneuvers that turned the tide of battle. One pilot, barely 16, disabled an alien warship with an energy pulse calculated in seconds. Mara smiled through tears. Humanity's ingenuity had become a weapon more deadly than any missile. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Hoshimoto watched the results with awe and pride. "Every life, every mind, every spark of courage contributes to this victory," she said softly. "We are humans. We are unyielding. We are unstoppable." Her words carried across secure channels, reaching every human fleet, colony, and station. Hope spread like wildfire. The battle raged for hours, each side refusing to yield. Alien commanders realized that brute force alone would not defeat humans. Their strategy faltered, their confidence wavered, and their ships began to fall one by one. Humanity's vengeance was precise, relentless, and merciless, not out of cruelty, but out of determination to survive and protect everything they loved. Amidst the chaos, small acts of humanity shone brightly. Soldiers shielded civilians from explosions. Engineers risked their lives to repair vital systems. Families held each other in communication bunkers, sending silent prayers to those in the fight. Every act of bravery, every sacrifice became a testament to the unbreakable human spirit. Finally, as the alien fleet began to retreat beyond the edge of the solar system, humanity breathed a collective sigh of relief. The cost had been high, but the lesson was clear. Earth and its people would never be underestimated again. The aliens had mocked, had laughed, and had assumed weakness. Humanity had responded with courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding will that no force could crush. Captain Marijo looked out at the stars, her face lit by the glow of distant explosions. "We fight for every life lost, every family at home, every dream yet unfulfilled," she said softly. "They laughed at us, but they will never laugh again. Humanity will rise, and the galaxy will remember our name." On Earth, Dr. Hoshimoto allowed herself a moment to reflect. "We have become the force they feared, the storm they cannot control," she whispered. "Every life, every sacrifice, every act of courage has built this moment. Humanity does not break, does not bow, and never forgets those who doubted us. The stars themselves will tremble at our vengeance. And across every colony, every battlefield, and every ship, humans prepared for the next stage of the fight. The aliens had learned one truth too late. Underestimating humanity was the greatest mistake a species could make. Earth had warned them. They had laughed. And now humanity's vengeance was sweeping across the stars. Unstoppable, unyielding, and unstoppable. The alien fleet, once arrogant and mocking, trembled now as humanity advanced across the solar system. Their once confident strikes faltered. Their plans, meticulously crafted for conquest, were being undone by a species they had dismissed as weak. Humanity, laughed at and underestimated, had become a force that no power in the galaxy could ignore. Captain Mara Jo stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, her eyes fixed on the massive alien command ship at the edge of the asteroid belt. Her crew, exhausted but resolute, had endured years of battle, loss, and sacrifice. "This is the moment," Mara whispered, voice steady but heavy with emotion. "They mocked us. They thought we were fragile, insignificant. Today humanity shows them what it truly means to fight. Today we take back the stars." Across the solar system, human fleets moved in perfect synchronization. Every ship, every fighter, every drone acted as part of a single living organism. They anticipated alien maneuvers, countered attacks with precision, and struck with a ferocity born from years of endurance. Humanity's weaponry was unmatched, but it was more than machines that made them unstoppable. It was their courage, unity, and unbreakable will. On Earth, Dr. Lina Hoshimoto monitored the battlefield from the Project Phoenix Command Center. The culmination of decades of human ingenuity, the weapon systems, intelligence networks, and energy manipulations she had helped create, were all now in motion. "They laughed at us," she murmured, voice shaking with emotion. "They thought we would be crushed. Now they will feel the strength of every life they thought they could ignore." The final battle erupted near Jupiter. Alien ships swarmed like dark clouds, firing energy beams that scorched the void. Explosions lit the blackness as human ships danced through the chaos, using cunning tactics that no alien algorithm could predict. Mara led her fleet with a combination of instinct and calculated strategy, striking at the enemy's weak points, disabling their shields, and cutting off escape routes. Even the smallest acts made a difference. Pilots guided by children on Earth executed maneuvers with perfect timing. Engineers patched failing systems mid-battle. Civilians on distant colonies sent encrypted instructions that saved thousands of human lives. Every heartbeat, every mind, every hand became part of the unstoppable human force. Mara watched as the alien flagship tried to retreat through the asteroid belt. She gave the order. Human ships converged, cutting off escape from every direction. With a coordinated strike using Project Phoenix, the alien flagship erupted in a blinding explosion, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The remaining alien ships hesitated, confusion and fear now dominating their tactics. The galaxy watched as humanity, once laughed at, stood victorious. The aliens, a species that had thought themselves supreme, had been defeated not by sheer force but by ingenuity, unity, and an unyielding will to survive. Humanity's vengeance had arrived, and it was unstoppable. On Earth, people across every continent and colony erupted in quiet celebration. Families embraced, children laughed, and tears flowed freely. Humanity had survived every test, endured every strike, and risen stronger than ever. Every life lost, every sacrifice made had contributed to this moment of triumph. Captain Mara Jo lowered herself into her chair, exhausted but triumphant. "We fought for every life, every dream, every hope," she said softly. "They laughed when we warned them. Now they will never forget the name of humanity." Dr. Hoshimoto, tears in her eyes, whispered the words she had longed to say. "We are humans. We endure, we fight, and we will never be broken." Her voice carried across secure channels, reaching every human fleet, every colony, every survivor. Hope and pride flowed like a river through every human heart. The alien forces, shattered and retreating beyond known space, would think twice before returning. Earth had warned them. They had laughed. And now, humanity's vengeance had shaken the stars themselves, leaving an indelible mark across the galaxy. Humanity had proven what no one had believed possible. Against overwhelming odds, against a powerful enemy, humans had endured, adapted, and triumphed. The stars were no longer places of fear. They were the canvas upon which humans had painted their courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit. Captain Mara Jo looked one last time at the distant flashes of the battlefield. At the void now filled with the echoes of victory, she whispered almost to herself, "We are humans. We are unstoppable, and the universe will remember us. And so humanity rose, not as victims, not as prey, but as the unyielding force that had been laughed at, underestimated, and scorned. Humanity had fought, endured, and prevailed. The galaxy would never forget. When Earth warned them, they laughed. And now humanity's vengeance had shaken the stars. The first strike had begun, and the war was only just waking. The battle for Alara had raged for hours, stretching into days. Smoke and fire now marked the once bright cities, and the stars themselves seemed to shudder under the weight of destruction. On the bridge of the stellar dawn, Captain Arlen Voss watched the chaos unfold with grim determination. Every explosion, every flashing warning on the console reminded him of the heavy cost of defiance. The Cerithians were relentless. Their fleets advanced like a tide, overwhelming smaller human ships with sheer numbers. Yet humanity refused to yield. Every human pilot who soared into the void carried not just weapons but hope, courage, and a stubborn refusal to let fear rule their hearts. The courage of these people was raw, unpolished, and beautiful, an energy that no Cerithian ship could quantify or destroy. Arlen's eyes lingered on the viewport as a small squadron dove into the midst of Cerithian cruisers. One of the pilots, barely a boy, was no older than his own nephew had been before the war took him to another colony. Yet here he was, maneuvering with deadly precision, firing missiles and lasers while dodging streams of enemy fire. His ship shuddered as one hit grazed the hull, yet he pressed on. Arlen felt a painful lump rise in his throat. Courage had a price, and it was a price humanity was willing to pay. "Captain," an officer shouted, pointing at the view screen. "Orbital City 9. Under heavy fire." Civilian evacuation units compromised. Arlen's jaw tightened. Every life mattered, and losing even one was unacceptable. "Divert interceptor teams. Protect the civilians at all costs," he ordered. His voice carried the weight of both command and emotion, a blend of steel and heart that resonated with every crew member on the bridge. In the skies above Alara, a young human pilot named Kale risked everything to shield a transport vessel carrying refugees. His ship twisted and dove between enemy blasts, metal groaning under strain. A missile slammed into his wing, tearing it away. Yet Kale held steady for a few more moments, guiding the refugees to safety before ejecting into the void. Arlen watched the transmission, silent as the boy drifted in a small escape pod, eyes wide with determination and fear. For Alara, for humanity. That phrase repeated itself in Arlen's mind, heavy and sacred. Losses mounted, ships exploded in fireballs that illuminated the void, and the cries of human pilots echoed through comm lines, fleeting and haunting. Yet even with each life lost, humanity's spirit grew stronger. Each sacrifice inspired another to fight harder. Humans adapted, learned, and moved as one, weaving courage and hope into every desperate maneuver. The stellar dawn itself was battered. Hull breaches had been patched hastily, shields flickered under the strain, and the energy conduits groaned from overuse. But Arlen's crew worked with tireless devotion, refusing to let fear or exhaustion dictate their fate. Every engineer, every gunner, every officer embodied the human will to survive and protect, proving that courage was as real a weapon as any missile or cannon. Amid the chaos, Arlen's mind wandered briefly to the idea of legacy. The Cerithians had expected easy victory, assuming humanity would crumble under superior numbers and firepower. But they had misjudged the human heart. Humans fought not because they had to, but because they believed in something greater than themselves, their families, their homes, their freedom, their hope. And it was that belief that made them unbreakable. Arlen's thoughts were interrupted by an urgent alert. A Cerithian dreadnought had broken through the perimeter, moving straight toward the planet's capital. Panic threatened to rise among the crew, but Arlen's voice cut through, firm and steady. "All units focus on the dreadnought. Use coordinated volleys. We protect Alara at any cost." Pilots and ships responded immediately. It was a dance of death, precision and instinct combined, as human ingenuity and bravery pushed back the overwhelming might of the enemy. Missiles flew, lasers burned through enemy shields, and explosive traps tore chunks from the dreadnought's hull. Yet the enemy pressed on relentlessly, showing no mercy, no hesitation, no doubt. During the battle, Arlen felt the weight of every life lost pressing against him, mingling with the pride that surged through him at every act of heroism. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were also magnificent in their stubbornness, their courage, and their refusal to surrender to fear. Every death was a wound, every victory a spark. Together, those sparks formed a blazing fire that no enemy could extinguish. As the dreadnought finally faltered under the combined might of human ships, the battlefield fell into a tense silence. Smoke curled from burning vessels, and the stars seemed to hold their breath. Arlen took a deep breath, knowing this was only a pause, not the end. Humanity had paid a heavy cost, yet they had shown something the Cerithians could never destroy. Courage born of heart, hope, and defiance. Arlen looked at the shattered skyline of Alara below, cities smoldering but still standing, and felt a swell of both grief and pride. The battle had taken much, but it had revealed more, the strength that humans carried in their hearts. Every human who had fought, every sacrifice made, was a testament that humanity could endure anything. And as he prepared for the next wave of attacks, Arlen whispered quietly, more to himself than anyone else, "We will not break. We will rise. We are human, and we fight with everything we have." In the void, the echoes of courage lingered like fireflies in darkness, small and fragile, yet impossible to ignore. The cost of courage had been high, but humanity had proven once again that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit could not be defeated. The battle was far from over, but the story of defiance had only just begun. The battle for Alara had reached a fevered pitch. Human ships darted through streaks of enemy fire, explosions lighting up the void like deadly fireworks. Smoke curled from the planet's surface as cities burned, and alarms shrieked in the bridges of every human vessel. The Cerithians pressed their advantage, confident that their superior numbers and firepower would crush the defenders. Captain Arlen Voss gripped the rail on the bridge of the Stellar Dawn, sweat streaking his forehead. His crew worked tirelessly, issuing orders, manning guns, repairing shields, and guiding transports to safety. Yet even in their courage, fatigue was visible in their movements. Humans were brave, but they were mortal, and the Cerithians seemed endless. Then something changed. A shimmer appeared at the edge of the void, subtle at first, like a ripple across the dark waters of space. Sensors on every ship registered it, and for a moment all combat paused as the crew stared at the anomaly. It grew brighter, larger, impossible in its scale. The Cerithian commanders noticed it too, and confusion flashed across their faces, and then from the void emerged the Invictus. The ship was massive, sleek, and bristling with unknown technology. Its hull gleamed silver, reflecting the fires of Alara below. Energy shields shimmered along its surface, and weapons arrays rotated with silent menace. It was humanity's ultimate creation, born not only of engineering but of necessity, hope, and the relentless determination to survive. Arlen felt a spark of awe rise in his chest. He had commanded many battles, seen many victories, but nothing like this. The Invictus was more than a warship, it was a symbol of what humans could achieve when pushed to the brink, when facing impossible odds. The Terran Warship moved with purposeful grace, sliding between the enemy lines like a silver blade. Its weapons fired, precise and devastating. Entire Cerithian squadrons evaporated under its onslaught. The void, once filled with chaos and fire, now seemed to bend around the presence of this single vessel. "Focus all firepower on the dreadnoughts," Arlen shouted, his voice carrying both command and relief. His crew's exhaustion gave way to renewed energy, inspired by the arrival of the Invictus. For the first time in hours they dared to hope. The Cerithians faltered. Their formations wavered. They had counted on fear and exhaustion to secure victory, but now faced something they could not predict, could not calculate, could not destroy. Humanity had shown resilience before, but now it had something new, an unstoppable force born of heart, courage, and technology that seemed almost alive. Arlen's thoughts were a whirlwind of relief and focus. He knew the battle was not yet won. The Cerithians were ruthless, and their pride would not allow easy retreat. Yet he allowed himself a moment to breathe, to see hope glimmer through the darkness. From the bridge he watched as human pilots, inspired by the Invictus, coordinated daring attacks. Small frigates darted through enemy fire, exploiting the confusion caused by the warship's appearance. Missiles found targets with deadly accuracy. Shields held firm against barrages that would have overwhelmed them before. The tide of battle was turning, and it turned not only on weapons but on the spirit of those who wielded them. Below, on the surface of Alara, the people saw the silver light of the Invictus reflected in the atmosphere. Fires burned, yes, but a new fire rose in hearts across the planet, the fire of hope. They knew their defenders had not been abandoned. They knew that humanity, against all odds, had found strength once again. Arlen's eyes swept over the fleet. He saw exhaustion, fear, and grief, but he also saw determination, courage, and a unity stronger than any shield. Each human pilot, engineer, and soldier carried the same unspoken understanding. They would fight no matter the cost, because they were human. And humanity would not be conquered. The Invictus unleashed a series of energy waves that tore through enemy lines, scattering dreadnoughts and cruisers alike. For the first time in the battle, the Cerithians retreated, their perfect formations broken, their confidence shaken. The humans pursued cautiously, wary but undaunted. Arlen's hand rested on the console, a mixture of awe and relief washing over him. He had witnessed courage, sacrifice, and determination, but now he had witnessed something more. He had witnessed humanity at its fullest, fighting not just to survive but to stand as a symbol that the galaxy would never forget. "Captain," a young officer said, voice trembling. "The enemy. They're retreating." Arlen nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders even as he kept his focus sharp. "This is not the end," he said quietly, almost to himself. "But it is proof. Humanity stands, and we will not bow." The void was no longer silent chaos. The light of the Invictus cut through darkness, a beacon of defiance, hope, and unyielding courage. And in that light, humans everywhere knew one truth. They could face any challenge, endure any hardship, and rise from any shadow. For the first time in the battle, hope burned brighter than fear. And somewhere deep in the stars the Terran Warship glimmered, not just as a weapon, but as a promise. Humanity would fight, humanity would endure, and humanity would never surrender. The Cerithians faltered under the light and fire of the Invictus, yet they were far from defeated. Their ships regrouped, attempting to form a counterattack, but the humans were no longer the same. The arrival of the Terran Warship had ignited something deeper than hope. It had awakened the unyielding fire of humanity. Every soldier, pilot, and engineer knew the stakes. Every life, every ship, every heartbeat mattered. Captain Arlen Voss stood on the bridge of the Stellar Dawn, eyes fixed on the screens. The void was alive with movement, a deadly ballet of ships and weapons fire, but now humans were leading the dance. Small frigates darted with precision, intercepting enemy missiles and striking weak points in the Cerithian lines. Pilots coordinated daring maneuvers that no computer could predict, weaving through explosions, striking with ingenuity born of desperation and courage. "Target their main engines," Arlen ordered. "Hit their mobility. Leave them nowhere to run." The fleet responded instantly, missiles streaking across the void, lasers burning through enemy shields. The Cerithians, who had once believed themselves unstoppable, now wavered. Their perfect formations collapsed under coordinated human assault, each strike a testament to determination, creativity, and sheer will. Arlen's eyes caught the image of a young pilot, barely more than a boy, leading a squadron to protect a damaged transport. His ship twisted and turned through deadly enemy fire, a blur of silver and red light. Explosions rocked the void around him, but he pressed on, guiding the refugees to safety. Arlen's chest tightened. This is why humans survive. This is why we endure. The Invictus carved through the enemy fleet like a silver blade. Energy cannons fired in perfect synchronization, tearing through Sorithian dreadnoughts with surgical precision. Each hit sent shockwaves through the enemy formation, scattering ships and crushing morale. For every Sorithian that fell, humans surged forward with renewed confidence, inspired by the indomitable presence of the Terran Warship. On the surface of Alara, civilians watched the sky. Smoke rose from burning cities, yet the glimmer of silver light from the Invictus reflected on the clouds, a beacon of hope. Families whispered prayers, children pointed at the stars with wide eyes, and fear was tempered by awe. Humanity had not abandoned them. Humanity had risen. Arlen felt a surge of pride mingled with grief. Losses had been heavy, but courage had been heavier. Pilots who should have been terrified moved with precision. Engineers patched hulls while explosions rocked their ships. Every human involved in the defense had become a living testament to the strength of the spirit. The Sorithians launched a desperate strike, targeting the stellar dawn itself. Explosions shook the bridge, lights flickered, and alarms screamed. Crew members ducked and scrambled, yet Arlen remained focused, eyes sharp, voice steady. Divert power to shields. Return fire on my mark. His commands flowed like water through the chaos, precise, calm, and unyielding. Humans fought not just to survive, they fought to protect everything they loved. Ships collided with enemy vessels, ramming and tearing apart the metal monsters. Pilots sacrificed themselves with quiet bravery, guiding doomed ships into the heart of enemy formations. Every action carried the weight of hope, love, and defiance. Arlen's gaze returned to the Invictus. The warship moved with purposeful grace, every shot devastating. Its presence inspired humans across the battlefield, turning fear into courage, desperation into strength. The Sorithians realized too late that technology alone could not crush the human heart. Humans fought with something far stronger: willpower, spirit, and the unbreakable bond to each other and their home. "Captain, the Sorithian flagship is exposed," a communications officer shouted. "We can finish this." Arlen nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "All units, focus fire! End this now." Missiles, lasers, and energy pulses rained down on the flagship. Explosions tore through its hull, sending debris scattering in every direction. Human ships danced around the wreckage, dodging debris and retaliatory fire. And then, with a final blinding explosion, the Sorithian command ship shattered, leaving nothing but fragments in the void. Silence fell across the battlefield, broken only by the soft hum of human vessels and the crackle of fires still burning on Alara. Humans had won this engagement, but victory was tempered by sorrow. Thousands had given their lives. Cities lay in ruins. Families mourned. Yet amidst the grief, hope shone brighter than ever. Arlen's chest ached, but he stood tall, looking out at the stars now dotted with human and scattered Sorithian ships alike. He whispered quietly, almost to himself, "We fight, we endure, we survive, and we rise no matter the darkness." The fleet slowly regrouped, tending to the wounded, repairing ships, and scanning for survivors. Humanity had unleashed its full strength, showing the galaxy that courage, heart, and unity were weapons far greater than any fleet. And somewhere in the stars, the Invictus glimmered, silent and imposing, a reminder of what humanity could achieve when pushed to the edge. For Arlen, for his crew, and for every soul on Alara, one truth was clear. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were a force the galaxy would never forget. The void above Alara crackled with energy, the remnants of the Sorithian fleet scattered and broken. Yet the battle was far from over. Among the debris, a single massive ship moved with terrifying purpose. The Sorithian command vessel, its weapons charged and its systems glowing like a storm about to break. Captain Arlen Voss felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This ship could undo everything they had fought for. This was the final test. On the bridge of the Stellar Dawn, alarms blared as the command ship's targeting systems locked onto the human fleet. Smaller vessels darted through streams of energy fire, trying desperately to intercept incoming strikes. Shields flickered, engines groaned under strain, and every human pilot knew the cost of failure, yet none wavered. Courage burned in their hearts brighter than any explosion around them. Arlen's voice cut through the chaos, calm and precise. All units, prepare for the counterstrike. We hit them together. Every ship, every pilot, every gun, fire as one. Humanity does not yield. The Terran Warship Invictus led the charge, gliding like a silver predator among the scattered enemy. Its energy cannons fired with devastating accuracy, tearing through the command vessel's shields. Explosions rocked the Cerithian ship, but it pressed forward undeterred. It had underestimated humans before, but this time humans would show it the full measure of their resolve. Arlen coordinated the fleet with unwavering focus. Frigates darted to flank the command ship, launching coordinated missile volleys. Pilots risked everything, weaving through enemy fire, some sacrificing themselves to strike critical systems. Engineers on each human vessel worked at impossible speeds, repairing shields and rerouting power to weapons. Every movement, every decision was a testament to humanity's ingenuity and unbreakable spirit. One young pilot, KL, who had already survived incredible odds in previous skirmishes, led a daring strike team directly into the heart of the enemy formation. His ship twisted and spun, dodging streams of energy fire. With precise timing, he launched torpedoes that struck the command vessel's engine core. The explosion rocked the void, sending shockwaves through surrounding ships. Kale's squadron pressed forward, relentless, fearless, inspired by the knowledge that their actions could turn the tide. Arlen felt his chest tighten with a mixture of fear and pride. Humanity was fragile, yes, but also extraordinary. Their strength did not lie in weapons or ships alone. It lay in heart, in courage, in the unwillingness to surrender. Every life they risked, every act of defiance, was a message to the galaxy. Humans would not be conquered. The Cerithian command ship faltered, its massive hull cracked, systems failing under the relentless human assault. It fired desperately, lashing out in rage and frustration, but the humans anticipated every move. Missiles intercepted energy beams. Fighters blocked key positions. The fleet moved as one, a living organism of determination, spirit, and fire. Arlen's fingers flew over the console, issuing final orders. All units converge. Finish this together. Show them the strength of humanity. The human fleet surged forward. Energy blasts, missiles, and torpedoes struck the command vessel from every angle. The Invictus unleashed its full power, beams of pure energy slicing through the enemy ship's hull. The command vessel shuddered, sparks flying across its surface, and then, in a blinding flash, it exploded, sending debris and fire spiraling into the void. Silence fell across the battlefield, broken only by the soft hum of human ships and the distant crackle of fires still burning on Ilara. Arlen exhaled, a heavy breath of relief and exhaustion. Around him, his crew slumped in their stations, some weeping, some smiling, all alive. Humanity had won, not because they had the greatest technology, but because they had heart, courage, and unyielding will. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. On Ilara's surface, survivors watched the sky. Fires still burned and cities were scarred, yet hope now filled the air. Children clutched their parents, citizens embraced neighbors, and a quiet pride settled over the planet. Humans had fought back darkness and emerged stronger. They had defended their home, their families, and their future. Arlen looked at the stars, now calm and clear. The void had tested humanity, thrown everything at them, and yet they had endured. The Invictus glided silently beside the stellar dawn, a symbol of what humanity could achieve when united. Fearless, and determined. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "We endure, we rise, we fight, and we never bow." The cost had been high, lives had been lost, cities destroyed, families torn apart. Yet in every act of bravery, every sacrifice, humanity had proven something greater than any weapon. They were more than survivors, they were warriors, dreamers, and guardians of hope. And somewhere deep in the void, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging humanity's courage. The Cerithians would remember this day, this battle, this lesson. They had underestimated a species that refused to break, refused to kneel, and refused to surrender. For Captain Arlen Voss and the people of Alara, the turning point was clear. Humanity had not only survived, they had shown the galaxy that courage, heart, and determination were weapons far more powerful than any fleet. The battle was won, but the story of humanity's defiance was only beginning. In every corner of the stars their courage would echo, a reminder that no force could extinguish the human spirit. The void was quiet now. The Cerithian fleet had scattered, broken, and defeated, leaving only fragments behind. The battlefield, once filled with fire and chaos, now glimmered with the scattered debris of war. Captain Arlen Voss stood on the bridge of the stellar dawn, his hands resting on the console as he watched the stars. Exhaustion weighed on him, yet a strange calm filled his heart. Humanity had endured. Humanity had triumphed. On Alara, the aftermath was stark but full of life. Cities bore the scars of battle. Buildings reduced to skeletons of metal and glass, streets littered with debris. But amidst the ruins, people moved with determination. Civilians carried the wounded, tended to fires, and rebuilt what had been destroyed. Children laughed again, hesitant at first, but then freely under the silver light that reflected from the Invictus hovering above. Hope had returned. Arlen's mind drifted over the lives lost, the brave souls who had given everything to protect their home. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier who had risked themselves in the void had become a part of something larger than themselves. Their courage had forged a shield stronger than any metal, a force stronger than any fleet. Humanity had not simply survived. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming power, the human spirit could not be broken. The Terran Warship Invictus glided silently beside the stellar dawn, its massive hull reflecting the calm light of Alara's twin suns. It was more than a ship. It was a symbol, a promise. A promise that humans would rise, that humans would fight, and that humans would never bow. The Cerithians had claimed peace, but humans had claimed their dignity and their right to exist, and in doing so, had carved their story into the stars. Arlen's gaze shifted across the bridge. His crew were weary but proud, their faces illuminated by consoles and the occasional flash of distant fires. They were human, fragile yet indomitable, and they had faced the impossible. In their eyes he saw the reflection of courage, determination, and hope, the true weapons that had turned the tide of battle. He remembered the young pilots, the ones who had risked everything to save others, the engineers who had worked tirelessly under fire, and the civilians who had stood firm even when fear threatened to consume them. Humanity had fought not just with weapons but with heart. Every act of bravery, every sacrifice had been a declaration. We are here. We endure, we rise. A transmission came from the surface. Citizens cheered, voices carrying gratitude and relief. They had survived thanks to the courage of their defenders. Arlen allowed himself a small smile, the first in days. It was fleeting, but it carried warmth, a reminder that even in darkness light could return. Yet even as the battle ended, Arlen knew the work ahead was not easy. Cities had to be rebuilt, lives healed, and scars, both physical and emotional, mended. But humanity was resilient. If war had shown them one thing, it was that they could rise from ashes, stronger than before. Strength was not in numbers alone, but in the will to endure, to protect, and to fight for what mattered. Arlen whispered softly, almost to himself, "We have shown them. The heart of humanity is unbreakable. The stars above Alara twinkled, silent witnesses to a story of courage that would echo across the galaxy. Somewhere in distant worlds, civilizations would hear of this battle. The humans who had refused to bow, the fleet that had turned hopelessness into victory, and the warship that emerged from the void to change the course of destiny. The Sorithians would retreat, wounded in pride and spirit, but they would remember, and all who witnessed humanity's resolve would learn the same truth. Fear could not control them, lies could not bind them, and no power could destroy the spirit of the humans who fought for hope, for family, and for freedom. Arlen looked out the viewport one last time, watching the horizon of Alara. Smoke still curled from burning buildings, but light glimmered in the streets. Survivors helped each other, sharing food, water, and the comfort of human connection. It was in these moments that the meaning of victory became clear, not in the destruction of the enemy, but in the preservation of life, hope, and dignity. He turned back to his crew, pride swelling in his chest. "This is our legacy," he said, voice strong and steady. "Not the warship, not the fleet, not even the victory. Our legacy is courage. Our legacy is heart. Our legacy is humanity itself. And no one, not even the strongest enemy, can ever take that from us." The crew nodded, silent but united, understanding the weight of his words. In that moment, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if honoring the human spirit. And in the quiet aftermath, as the void stretched endlessly above them, the Invictus glimmered, a silver sentinel, a promise, and a testament to what humans could achieve. The galaxy had been shown the truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. Humans would fight. Humans would endure. And humans, once underestimated, would carve their story into the stars forever. Captain Arlen Voss closed his eyes briefly, letting the relief and pride wash over him. He had seen humanity at its best, tested by fire and shadow, and it had emerged stronger, braver, and unbroken. The battle was over, but the story of human courage would echo across the universe for generations to come. And somewhere in the infinite darkness, the stars seemed to whisper back, carrying the promise of a species that had faced the void and said, "We are human. We endure. We rise."